This episode of Southeast Iowa Today is brought to you by Griner Auto Body of Washington, Iowa, using state-of-the-art techniques and decades of experience to get your car back on the road after an accident. Car Doctor of Washington, Iowa. No matter who Frankensteined it, they can fix it, clean it, and customize it. McDonald Boatyard of Keota, Iowa, for all your farm equipment and auto recycling needs. For great food, it's Your Choice Family Restaurant of Wayland, Iowa. Open Tuesday through Sunday. Try the John Bain sandwich on your next visit. Girling Repair of Winfield, Iowa. If your mower is dead, call Fred, your Husqvarna, Aaron's, and Gravely dealer. Fred also fixes and sells snow blowers. B&B Propane and the family of jet stops. CW Tree Trimming, LLC. We're into your trees, not your wallet. Serving all of Henry County and the surrounding area, and we offer a senior citizen and veteran discount.
Iowa Technology Systems delivers professional IT services. From company networks to home computers, we keep you connected with reliable service you can trust. Enterprise IT services, quality computers, and local IT support. All designed to keep your technology running smoothly. Visit www.iowatechsys.com to see how our services can help you.
They all present the award-winning Southeast Iowa Today. Here's the author of Christie's Journey, The Beat Goes On, and your host, John Bain.
Thank you, announcer Cody Roy of NewEnglandDukes.com for your golden pipes and wonderful introduction. It's Tuesday, January 20th, 2026, and the Henry County Board of Supervisors are talking fiscal year 2027 budgets. They held a work session and visited with Public Health Director Katie Reuter, County Engineer Jay Hotchkiss, and Auditor Robin Detrick. A lot is discussed in this episode of what I will call podcast excellence. And if you are a Henry County, Iowa taxpayer, it's all about your money.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks for the reminder. Thanks for everybody gathering here first thing this morning. Convene the work session here and go about that. Like on my agenda, Reuter with Public Health Director is first online. So all yours.
That's good. I'm going to start with the easy one first. So I took on Department 60 when the mental health districts reorganized and that went away. So I'm just going to go over this with you really quickly. As far as revenue, I've printed out the revenue sheet, but there will be no revenue coming in. So in past years, in 2024, 2023, 2022, there was a grant that was provided by the state. There was $5,561 coming in, but that is no more. That was eliminated as of July. So there will be no revenue for that fund. The expense worksheet, obviously the staff is gone from that fund, so there will be nothing in those line items. We are still responsible for substance use transfers, hospitalizations, and court. So I did leave money in those line items. I did not change anything. The one thing that will be dependent on you all is what you want to do with the money that we're currently giving to ads. So in the past, this has always come out of the general supplemental fund. In the past, we had given them, it looked like last year, $22,000, the year before, $27,000, $22,000 the year before that. And prior to this year, it's my understanding that what happened was they would take that money divided by 12 and give ads, alcohol and drug dependency services, an installment each month that was the same amount. When that district or that area was eliminated in July, they've changed the reporting for ads, so now they are sending us claims with like an hourly rate, since a lot of their staff work in multiple counties, so they're sending us what they have for Henry County. And I did check with them to see if they have any more, cause they've used considerably less than last year. And currently what we have out of that fund is, $1,500, they're budgeted $22,245. With that all coming out of the general supplemental fund, I just need to know what you gentlemen wanna put in there for funding.
So is it $1,500 year to date
Since July 1,
to here, yeah?
which is
Versus-
fiscal year.
Yeah.
Says it on your sheet right there, what's been paid.
So that grant that we used to get is.
You don't get that
That's
anymore,
gone completely away.
gone. Mhm.
That's how we used to fund most of it. So are you asking, are we gonna do more than the transportation and hospitalization? Is that what you're asking, or what?
Yes, I'm asking, so the line item 2,000, 3,500, 48160, that general supplemental fund treatment services contribution. The funding for previous years is, obviously is out of the general supplemental fund, but that was all to go to ads. So that was not anything that came from the state. The only thing that came from the state was that $5,561 was all that came from the state. The rest is all out of the supplemental fund. It took me many phone calls to figure that out.
So Mark, are you saying the 5,000 was in addition to the 22,000?
No, part
The
of.
22,000 is from us. That's not a grant or anything.
I understand, but
that
total cost.
We had got a grant that we used to,
The total cost then would be 27,000.
we would get the grant and just
28,000.
give it to Sarah, said, take care of it with
Mhm.
ads for us. We signed the document saying that she was the signature for us.
Okay, but again, that would be $28,000 total that would go to that program rather than just the 22 that we see here.
The 22
No,
is
the
just budgeted.
22 is
I
what is
understand that.
budgeted.
I understand that, but
What was
the
used out of that?
5,561 as a grant also went to that program, right?
That went to the program, yeah, to
So total
offset
cost.
those costs, yeah.
It's $28,000 roughly, right?
Mhm.
Okay. And right now, to date, we've only gotten bills for $1,568, you said,
Correct.
which is 7% of that total. Okay. I think there's probably some more conversation on that. Make sure we all understand that.
Do we know if any opioid money can be used in that regard?
For ads, they can request opioid dollars, but it has to be opioid specific, and there's certain activities that they would have to go through as well for that, so. Right now, the sheriff's department has that funding and they do the reporting for that. So it couldn't be used for things like, treatment for alcohol use disorder, or treatment for other substances,
be
it's
opioid.
only opioids, and that's kind of where the hangup is.
And they don't break that out for you, they just give you a general category of what the dollars are going to.
As far as ads?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do send reports when they send the claims as far as what they did for those services. So a lot of it is education.
Okay.
Their aim is more, those dollars are more for prevention, so they're trying to tackle problems before they start. We aren't really paying for any like treatment.
The
A lot
education,
of
would
it's
that fall into,
counseling, too.
but would education fall into that whole thing, counseling as well as any of those other things we just talked about for prevention?
For opioids, are you talking for the opioid funding?
Yeah, just, yeah,
Yeah, but it'd have to be specific to opioids, it couldn't be like
Yeah, but to Mark's
talking to
point, if
kids
we
about
knew,
drinking or,
yeah, but to Mark's point, if we knew exactly what those dollars were specific to opioids, then we could request that money back through the sheriff's group to, or your team that you're on, to help supplement that.
Or whether we actually ask for it, but
Yeah.
at least they had best, the sheriff's department
Right.
for it. I mean, I hate to be, this is something that the state has taken over in my mind. So why
I
are
would
we,
agree.
why are we having to deal with it anymore?
Right.
they took on the mental health
Yeah.
service, but they left that substance use piece out. And a lot of times those are co-occurring.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's fair, you just told me to do the budget, so that's what I'm working on.
I know. I'm trying to.
I don't say I agree with it, but. And it's difficult to kind of tell what they're going to use this year as far as what ads needs are, because it had been split into those installments, so they were being paid regardless of what they were using.
Or any of your counterparts, do they have maybe a best practice to follow, or what, any guidelines of what maybe they're looking at doing with it? How much money they're,
I don't have any other public health departments
Percentages.
that took this on after the mental health districts. I don't have any neighbors that are doing
no,
this,
okay.
so.
For my thoughts are, I would put $3,000 in there and make the total line item of $4,000 for this department. And then, just for right now, for our work session, we'll put that in there. But then need to be talking to some other people to find out about that. I'm not you, but I mean more the hierarchy within the state level on the mental health issue, which I'll be glad to do.
Okay. I think it would be good for us to know, Katie, you know, what portion of that goes to drug dependency, to see if there's anything that we can get through the opioid funding, just to transfer it over. The money's there, we should be able to utilize it. It's a pretty good sized fund.
Or make them build opioid.
Either
I
or,
think
yeah.
it would be more appropriate for them
Them to
to bill,
Which is
rather
fine.
than putting a middle
Right.
person in.
That's fine, whatever works, but we should be able to utilize those dollars, that's what it's for.
That's my recommendation.
I agree.
You wanna move on to the next one?
I'll gladly follow up on that.
Okay. This is general assistance. Oops. Okay. So with general assistance, there's not a lot that I did change. I'm using April Riley's salary as what is coming out for wages. So it is significantly lower because she's paid less than what Sarah was to administer the program. And then basically the changes are just for her benefits. I did add in $200 for prescription medication and vaccines because it is written into our policy that we would use up to $200 for medications, or medical devices for people. We haven't used any as of yet. So I don't have any major changes to make. And I did note in there, because there was a change, it looked like it was significant for the insurance. When you add it up as far as what wages were and what we were paying for Sarah's insurance, we actually have a cost savings of $379 because April's salary is much lower than what Sarah's was. I believe that's because I can only assume that maybe one was on a single plan for insurance and one was on a family plan, which would be the difference in that cost.
Robin, do you know if relief care for indigents is the same thing as in the categories under the annual financial report? Does that tie into the category called poor? Okay.
I think
so
it does.
that's, we spent $54,358 in that category.
Not last year,
Yeah, last year.
so not through general assistance,
It
because we weren't
probably
budgeted
tied
that,
with
it's probably
something-
tied in with
There's
something else.
Yeah, just trying to figure out what that is. Cause public health, there are 5 areas under public health with a fairly substantial budget. So I'm trying to figure out how that all breaks down. Cause if I look at everything under public health, it's $966,000, which is not your budget.
No, that's the
Yeah.
public health budget, this is the general assistance that I
I
was going
understand, but
through.
I was just trying to see the difference between where we're at.
But it
This is
ties in with
significantly
another
different.
department and funds is
Okay.
what that's under.
Yeah.
Like, it'll, like, just like your first responders and all that stuff that we pay for, it's in another fund all accumulated together.
To go to that category.
Mm-hmm.
So, Katie, I see no reason in really changing this unless we would change our poverty level.
That's my feeling too.
The way I look at it.
As far as what came out last fiscal year, we had, 8,900 and some change left of unused funds in the general assistance funds. The majority of the costs went to direct cremations. We've had only one this year, since we took this on in June.
And that is sort of a guessing game, because there's been years that we've been bumping that to the utmost.
Correct. I do have statistics as far as if you wanna know how much we've given out this year and on what. I believe we have only had one person that qualified for rental assistance, one for utility, and one for direct cremation in the last 6 months, 7 months.
I look at it this way, either we lower the budget or we increase our percentage then that we, for those that can get assistance. Because otherwise we're having money that is just being tied up and not being shown properly.
Your statistics again, one cremation,
Now let me pull up the spreadsheet and I can tell you exactly. If I could connect to the internet.
We're working on that.
I brought the hotspot just in case.
Chad's got a cable if you want to plug in.
Thank you.
Probably quicker.
And secure.
Well, I hope they will.
The hotspot is.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's any faster, guys.
So what is our threshold today then for, the dollar value that we set for assistance at the various
So
levels?
it's 50% of the federal poverty guideline. For a household of one, $652 is the monthly income. And that includes any SNAP, any social security, any disability, any alimony, any child support. So if they're receiving any of that, that counts as income. I have the numbers here if you wanna know what the rest of them are, as far as like household of two, $881. They'd have to earn less than that per month in order to, qualify. Most of our applicants that we have are either over income or they call behind on bills, and in our policy, if they are past due on bills, then they aren't qualifying for assistance. Their bills have to be current.
Okay.
The amount that we cover for rent is $500 per month, and for utilities is $200 per month. In March of last year, we proposed increasing the utilities to $300, and that was voted down. We had also discussed increasing the income limit to 75% of the federal poverty guideline, but that didn't change last year either.
Okay. I recall all that. I would be open to taking a look at the utilities as a portion of any of that, but nothing else. Considering where utilities have gone over the course of the last few years. So it was $500 a month on rent, $200 a month on utilities, and what was the third one?
For direct cremations, we offer $1,000. Those are about the only 3 line items we use. I did request to put $200 into, payment for medicine or medical equipment, because it's written in our policy. We haven't used any in the last year, but just since we have that in the policy, that it is something that people can request, it'd be nice to have money in that line item.
Okay. And we haven't heard back from all of the mortuaries on the cremations yet, so do we have a follow-up on that?
I've talked to one of them since then, and I said, you have not given us any guidance yet, and I'll do it again.
Okay.
And just to kind of put into, with the change for direct cremation, you can increase the amount that you pay, but unless we change the guidelines, then people don't qualify for it.
I think we're looking more at a cap on our end. So this, your suggested budget then is just the $200 above last year for the direct medications, right?
Yep, that would be all.
We can take that into consideration.
Medical prescription medicines or just over-the-counter stuff?
Prescription, no, we don't pay for any over-the-counter. It'd be prescription or medical devices, and how it's currently written into the policy is that they have to request that in advance. So I would give the example that, if they had like a regular medication that they were taking chronically that was due, that they knew they weren't gonna have money for the next month, they would request for up to, it doesn't necessarily mean they'll get $200, but, you know, if they need $50 for a prescription, then that would be filled, if they met the qualifications. A lot of the folks, though, that are requesting funding for this are already on Medicaid, so.
So that $200 would be a running cap for that year.
Mhm.
So $25 here for this one and
Right,
51
right.
for this one and just
And
up to that 200.
If it came to it, I could borrow from other line items that aren't being used, cause we've had leftover on rent, leftover on utilities. Direct cremations, I think we ended up with a total of 9 for the fiscal year last year, for fiscal year 25. So we still had one left there too, so approximately half of the funds that we had set aside last year were unused.
That, I guess that's good to know, cause I know last year I got called twice, from a citizen wanting me to meet with them at the pharmacy, so they asked if I would pay for their pharmacy bill. They had the prescription, they didn't have the money to pay for it, and wanted to know if I would help them out. And, one of them had a substance abuse problem and didn't feel comfortable doing that, so.
And a lot of our folks that call and, don't qualify, we don't just, hang up on them, we try and refer them to other places, but unfortunately, everywhere money is tight. So community action, we work with them quite frequently, but again, they're capped at what they can do. Fellowship Cup, we also work with them. We try and work with our local churches to see if there's funding other places, but I think everyone is in the same boat.
It's disheartening to see that some of the people got the new $300 tattoo on their arm. It just, that's frustrating when I see things like that, or buying the cigarettes and that type of thing.
You got more, right?
I do, I have, the public health budget, so I left the complicated one for last. There's expense and revenue. Make sure I give you the right one, because I have my notes on one of them. Expense and revenue. Do you want, I also have the breakdown of the hourly and annual wage, if you want that too, would that one correlate too?
Yeah, I'd like to see that, please. That way we can take a look and see where you guys are at, not all the pay bands, and I'm sure you're on top of that, but I guess we can get the right way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I did not make major changes this year. The Board of Health met on the 7th, and I presented them with 3 different budgets, and they approved for a 5% raise across the board for all public health staff. Looking at the pay bands, I do have 2 nurses that are towards the bottom of the pay band. One was actually under, and the board approved for me to give her an increase of 31 cents an hour to put her onto the pay band. And then my 2 front office staff, one is a community health worker and does a lot more clinical tasks than administrative. She was also not even on the pay band, she was under. And then I have one office staff that's been here for 20 years who is barely at the bottom of the pay band. Otherwise, the rest of us are on. I will have 2 staff retiring, one in September, and another in November, and they are both at the top of their pay scale. So, that would be Robin Poole and Angie Rum. For a breakdown of expenditures, the major increase would have been the 5% raise for staff. In order to buffer that, I did lower our private pay vaccine fund by $15,000. Also, I was not sure what to do with insurance premiums for this year, so this may be padding it a little bit, but I budgeted for a 5% increase. So if we do not have any increase in insurance premiums, you can actually decrease the total number by $8,814.
No, we have a meeting in February. It's always the second week in February where I find out for sure exactly what our increases are for our premiums.
Okay. Cause
And then we go and vote.
we've had that question a couple times.
Yes, and everybody knows that it's about February.
any significant changes that you wanted to just go through to highlight if there's anything we need to be looking at in particular?
I think mainly just the private pay, immunization budget is what I had decreased. Otherwise, I didn't make big changes in a lot of areas. We had tried to right size what we use for mileage and, basically for mileage last year because we were so far over. The budget had gotten cut significantly right when I came on in 2024, so for fiscal year 25, and I think there were some areas that were cut so severely that it was difficult to maintain. With the current proposed budget, with the 5% increase in staff wages, and if there is an increase in insurance premiums, we're asking for an additional $11,948. If there's no increase in insurance premiums, that would only raise the budget $3,133 or 0.3%. I do anticipate too that with the two retiring who are on the higher end of the pay scale, we won't be bringing people in at the top of the pay scale.
And are you suggesting you're gonna bring 2 people in?
Correct.
I don't have any more questions on the expenditures, but looking over on the revenue, I do
Mhm.
have.
Okay, we can move to that.
The very bottom of the first page, immunization.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good guess, is that a guesstimate or?
It's a guesstimate. Last year we exceeded what was budgeted as far as revenue. We budgeted 200,000 and came in with 247,000. But overall, you can see slowly since 2021 that our immunization rates, our numbers are falling.
When
So,
we only hit 40,000 left for this year, but
Mhm.
we will not be, our immunization period is less right now, it's more in the
It's-
fall.
we still have a fair amount. We have some, but it's not like, our busiest months are August through November. So August and maybe a little into July is when we start back to school, so it's very busy then. And then we have, respiratory illness, so flu, COVID, RSV, pneumonia. We do a lot of those in September, October, and November. So there's always a lag too, because it takes so long for insurance to process those claims. We always get kickbacks. It takes a great deal of time to, appeal a lot of the claims that are denied, but
Understood.
And you said there's less people utilizing the immunizations.
year over year, yeah, I have those statistics too, if you want any of those. Kind of a disturbing trend.
On the income side of things, you have all of the environmental stuff listed under, Russ.
Russ does their own budget, so they'll have the information about what they'll get for that, but that amount was reduced this year because they aren't utilizing the funds in the grant.
Okay.
They reduced it by 17,700, and what happens is they just take that money and they reallocate it to counties that are using it.
Okay.
But as far as like the Russ budget, Bruce says he comes with his own numbers.
I'll follow up with Bruce on a couple of those things. So Mark, how does that work then when we see that, the budget's gonna be a little over $1 million, but we have 280 coming in, almost 300,000 coming in its revenue? So they just offset one another in the checks and balances side of things, or how does that work when it comes to actually balancing that budget and seeing where we are from a credit deficit?
Well, you're funding at 800,000, you're saying.
Yeah, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, alright. So the true funding needs 750,000 roughly. Okay. Alright. That makes more sense to me. Thank you.
If there's any direction that you need me to go on that too, just let me know. We meet again on February 6th for Board of Health, so I'd have to take that back to the board.
Okay. And you and the board talked about a 5% salary increase for all of the employees, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. We have not gotten a CPI number from Paul yet, but I'm assuming it's gonna be about 2.5% roughly.
I was looking at 2.8 the last I looked at it. So.
Yeah, I think the new numbers just came out a couple days ago, 2.49 I think is what it was, but
Okay.
it depends on which number he picks from which month. So it's a little bit different than the overall cost of living, so we'll see which number
Okay,
he puts
just let
in
me
there,
know,
so
like
you
I
know what
said,
to do with.
I just need to know how to direct the board and if I have to go back to the board for approval of a different number.
Okay. Thanks, Dave.
You want the hot seat?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love the hot seat.
Sorry it took so long.
Oh, you haven't heard me talk yet.
He brings out no-dos after a while.
Yeah?
You can have one of these in since,
I just cringe at the amount of paper here.
Come over that side.
yeah, that's fine. Try something new, it's change. Got it?
You can close mine and move it out of the way.
Or set it on top, I can move stuff around. Okay. Okay. All right, so I'll get started here. We're gonna be talking about fiscal year 27 budget, and kind of the highlight for us this whole construction season is gonna be the bridge here west of town. So that's kind of the focal point for the presentation, just to give you an idea of what are we gonna be working on. The first part we usually talk about is how do we fund the secondary roads income? And currently we have three big portions where our dollars come from. The biggest one would be the road use tax fund, so that's the gas tax. That's registration fees that get paid on vehicles. And there we're looking at just a little over 3.8 million, so that's about just shy of 50% of our budget that we receive. The next big piece is designated construction funds. That also comes from road use tax funds. So these are dollars designated for construction. They're called farm to market dollars or bridge dollars that we use. So the designated construction funds are total up to 1.7. We break those out. Farm to market's about 1.1, a little bit over. And then the federal bridge funds is just under 600,000. Last year, I think this I wanted to point out, last year we were over 600,000. And that's because we replaced some bridges. As we replace bridges, the condition of our network gets better. You'll see our dollars amount fluctuate based on the condition of the bridges in the county. So right now we went down a little bit. We will see a drop when the bridge out west of town gets replaced and that service rating on that bridge goes up. You'll see this drop more because that's one of our larger bridges we have in our county. So that's one that fluctuates a little bit. The farm to market is a pretty constant one. It has a little bit of growth. It usually grows whatever the road use tax fund grows. And then there's some fluctuations of population, miles, and different things that go into the formula that we get. But those dollars are allocated to farm to market roads, which are the backbone of our secondary system. So those are our local paved roads, some of our heavier traveled gravel roads. There's a map that if you're ever interested, I can show you. But when we do a project, if it is a farm to market route, I can utilize these dollars for that. If it's a road, and I'll use an example, like a local road, I'm trying to think of a good example to give you one off the top of my head. A good one would be there Lexington, we're replacing that bridge up there in the north end of the county. That is a local road. We cannot use farm to market dollars on that road. So if there's ever a repair or a bridge that we have to replace, we can't use farm to market. But we can use bridge funds to replace any bridge in the county as long as it meets a certain criteria, and most of that is ADT. So just kind of a little background how we spend those dollars. Next big pot is property tax, and that's obviously a big one when we talk about the burden for the residents. Right now we're showing there 1.6 million. That's right at 20% of the budget or the income that we would come in. What I can tell you is when we get into the line items of how we're using the dollars, I will be able to show you that all of that is really budgeted into rock. So when you're talking about rural basic dollars, the rural residents that are paying for this, we're using most of those dollars on rock, and that's just buying that material itself. So, and then that would also include the labor for us to get it out there and blade the road. But that is the other big piece. And then WAS, that's one that you guys have designated that a certain dollar amount to us to come in to kind of offset some of our different prices. So again, I'm requesting the $500,000 that we'd be utilizing for our rock crushing at our quarry again this year. So those dollars have been very beneficial to us as far as being able to maintain when these budget things tighten and stuff, as far as the goods are going up and stuff. That's really helped us a lot. And then we have miscellaneous. This is the revenue that comes back in. So we buy the fuel, and then other entities come out and use our fuel system, and they reimburse us. And then we'll have other items like selling equipment if we sell it on Gov Deals, anything like that, miscellaneous. So typically fuel is the one that drives that the most, but there are permit fees that come in. That's where those dollars are showing. So, any questions on our income? Okay. Here it kind of breaks it down. What are we seeing for growth? This kind of puts it down. The current fiscal year that we re-estimate, we're sitting at 9.2 million. For this next year, we're looking just a little over 9 million. The one thing I want to point out is bridge reimbursement. I think this is important when we're talking about expenses and income. So with federal dollars that we're using for bridge, if it's an off system, that means one of our local roads that we're using the bridge dollars for, we pay for it first. So it comes through the road department, we pay the bill, and then we get reimbursed. So we're a pass-through. That pass-through affects what the overall item of the budget looks like. It makes it look a lot larger than what it really truly is. So this current fiscal year, we have the one on Lexington that's 350,000. And then this next fiscal year, we're budgeting for the bridge on 200th Street there, just north of town here, and that's 700,000. So when you're talking about, oh, your budget's increasing, a lot of times that's a pass-through number that we're looking at, and that can get kind of skew some of the numbers when you're looking at what does it cost to run the road department versus another county. You really need to look at what's coming through as a pass-through and coming back. So overall, we're showing about a 1.5% drop. Pretty much we're exactly where we would expect, and it all drives back to what bridge reimbursement is when you're looking at that, so. The other thing I would tell you is the ending balance. We're showing a ending balance here for fiscal year 26 being a little higher than what I actually had. And again, that's gonna come back into that revenue. One of the revenues we're getting this year that we don't normally plan on is that ITC lease that we got. So we are expecting to get that check in the next month for leasing our quarry after we get done crushing. And those are dollars that will help pay for the crushing contract next year as well, along with Lost. Then the big piece of this is, where does the money go? But again, 41% of our budget is going into roads. And what does roads cover? That's the labor to blade the road. That's the labor to put the rock out there. That's the material budget to buy the rock. That includes our crushing contract that we would have. So it's already up about $1 million. Normally it'd be around 2.4 to 2.5, but because we're gonna crush at the quarry this year, we have an estimate close to $1 million just to get that rock on the ground. So that's where most of the money's going. Road construction's another area. We have around 12%. We're sitting at $1 million there. One project is $700,000. Then I have around $150,000 in reimbursements for intersections that we've done along 218 and Highway 34. That leaves me around another $150,000 that we'll talk about at the 5-year program that will lay out some projects, some local projects. And those would be kind of like as things fit in to make sure we have money to cover them, but there isn't a lot of extra room there right now is what I would tell you. The one caveat to that is if that bridge project gets let, but the work doesn't get done this fiscal year, it's almost like that $1 million, we aren't spending it, but we aren't getting it either. So it would potentially roll over into the next year. So those are kind of the balancing act that we do as we look over fiscal years. And it's always kind of unique when you talk about the construction season. It's pretty much in the summertime, but our fiscal year ends June 30th. There's a lot of making sure the numbers and the budgets comply based on where we're at in the season. It usually hits us right in the middle of when projects are going on. So it can be a little interesting. Another one I'll point out is new equipment. We'll go into that some detail, but that's right, just a little under 700,000. We're looking at 650, I guess. And then administration engineering sits around 10%. And a lot of that is influenced based on what kind of construction projects we have on, what kind of design projects we're spending on that. So my staff in the office, they're doing inspections to design of new bridges that are going out there to just might be soils engineering, different things like that. That's where we do all of our planning and preliminary stuff like that. So, and the rest of them are just small items that we'll go into some more detail later. So any questions on the pie? Okay. So for new equipment, part of the job of keeping maintaining our system is that we need to make sure our equipment's in good repair and that we're keeping it up to date. So we want to stay ahead of that. So the last couple years we've been working on tandem trucks. Okay. The first one here is what you guys approved the other, we talked about this a month ago about ordering another truck that would be delivered late next fiscal year. So we're talking hopefully that May to July timeframe, and it could overlap depending on when it gets through the truck body. But there we're showing $255,000. That would be a full setup for a truck. So that's going to be your tandem truck with a box on it with a plow on the front of it. We'll utilize our spreader from our previous unit. The second item there is what we have left to pay on the truck that's already on the ground. So we have a truck sitting at Nextran right now that's just the chassis. And then after July, it will go to Henderson to get the body put on, and then we'll pay the remainder of that bill. So we have paid the first portion is just for the chassis itself, and then they're holding on to that truck. They'll send it up there to get the dump body put on, and then we should receive it sometime in July, and that would be the remainder of what we owe on that. So I'm a little heavy on that, I'm a little conservative on that, just to cover myself, to make them easy round numbers. And then we're looking at 2 pickup trucks, and typically we would fit a pickup truck in if there's a little bit of money left over, some of the things come in better than what we see. Lately they haven't, so we're actually budgeting for 2 trucks. And the survey truck is one that is a little higher end because we have to put a bed on the back of it to keep our survey equipment, the GPS equipment that we use. And so there is just kind of a budget number to look at. We're gonna be looking at a 1/2-ton truck, or we may even look at a Suburban. Those are kind of things that we're kind of figuring out which way would be the best way to go. And then we just have a standard 1/2-ton truck just to replace one of our aging trucks that we have right now. So, and then the last item, which is one of our bigger items, is a tractor. This would be a side deck mower with a rear deck. So we got 2 mowers that sit. and that's what we use to mow shoulders on our gravel roads. There we're looking at adding that into, I won't say adding, because we're gonna get rid of one of our batwing mowers and tractor, and then go to where we'll have 2 of these side deck, rear deck mowers. And we're working on that process. This is kind of a rough number. The tractor's a big issue on that, trying to get that. And then the mower side of it, what we're really working on now is trying to work on what's the speed that we can run that mower at, and the hydraulics and stuff. So it's kind of a work in progress, but we'd like to get that ordered. It probably will not be used for this summer for mowing. It'd probably be more for next spring, but that's something we'll start working on.
Are these, what, 120 horse tractors? I mean, they're not a 28 horsepower tractor.
No, they have
They're
to
a big
be,
tractor.
they have to be rather, yeah. And that's one of the things that we're looking into, is figuring out the right size. And then there is a little bit of creep, this is a tractor a guy's sitting in all day long for 3 to 4 months. And so we want to make sure that it's a tractor that is comfortable. Some of these tractors, the price tag looks good, but if you have to ride in that every day, they're not very enjoyable. So it's kind of comes into what kind of seats are in that. So those are kind of a balancing act that we have to figure out what's best for our guys that are out there doing that work. So, and we typically use part-time guys to mow our roadsides, is what we're using right now. Some people that are retired, that it works in their schedule that we can. So, any other questions on equipment? Major expense, the biggest area we got is roads. Blading labor, we're just a little shy of $500,000. That's for our guys to be out there running the blades on the territories. Miscellaneous roads, this would be some ditch cleaning, erosion control. It actually includes concrete patching. There we're sitting around just a little over 150,000. And then you get into the big item, which is our granular. We are budgeting $2.7 million. The material budget for this year is 1.8, and again, $1 million of that, or just shy of $1 million of that, is for crushing at the quarry. So I am a little high on my estimate, just to make sure I cover myself, because we don't exactly know, but I take previous bids and then inflate them a little bit for what the unknowns of where we're at. So hopefully that'll be in better than that. We typically plan on 35,000 tons to be purchased at our private quarries. And then we would use around 60,000 from our quarry itself. So we're trying to pull rock out of our own quarry. And, again, we pay for it today, but we use that supply over 2 years. It does save us quite a bit of money. It's a good benefit. Quality of rock in Henry County in general is always a question of concern, but it is what we have in our county to work with. So there isn't a lot of options there. So we do work with it to try to make it the best product we can. And there's pros and cons to how you set that gradation up. So overall, I think we've done a pretty good job of that. So there's 95,000 tons that we schedule to resurface over 162 miles. Again, of that, that adds up to 95,000. 64,500 is what we'll put on 162 miles, which is roughly 25% of our system. Every year, we're trying to stay onto a plan that we get a general plan that it's consistent on putting rock on. So I think I've preached to you guys a lot about this over the years, that we want to be very consistent. We don't want to just attack the worst roads and throw a rock at them. We need to bring the whole system up, or try to maintain the whole system, because we don't want to have a year where we have a bad spring, and if we're only putting attention on the heavier traveled roads and we let the lower ones go, you'll see the whole system fall apart. So it's more about trying to manage that. And I think since we've implemented, this is probably one of the things we did first when I got here, we've been pretty successful on the conditions of them, or the base to them. I think you always still get the common thing that there are areas that look like it's a mud road, but in general, the guys stay up pretty calm on that. So they pick their roads every year. We take it and look at it and give them a map that actually shows what they've done the last 4 years. That's a map that Tracy's working on with Michaela. And then when they go to pick their routes, they kind of already know what they're gonna do, but they may say, hey, this road needs to jump up, this road's okay. But we track all that so we can kind of see a history of how we're utilizing that rock on the system itself. Pulling shoulder is the other one. We have backed off a little bit here, mainly because of some budget, and primarily to some of our focus right now is we're getting back on culverts again and doing some of these other projects. I would like to say this will be the last year of us being pulled back on that. We'd like to get back to road rebuilding again. I think that's a very critical part. Last year we were, or in our current year, we're in a light year, and then we'll probably have one more year that'll be a light, mainly because of quarry crushing. The following year, which I would tell you would be fiscal year 28. We want to get back into where we're getting some miles of rebuilding gravel roads. I think we're well over, I think it's around 80 miles that we've done since I've gotten here. And some of that stuff is just, you can see that we're making progress, and I think it's helped take some pressure off, but we need to maintain that. And currently as it is, we're not gonna be able to maintain it this year on new roads being rebuilt. Local construction, we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. We're budgeting $1 million. Equipment operation, this is just a little over $1 million. This includes our mechanic labor, all the services we do out of our shop. It does include, the biggest item is our fuel. So for diesel and gasoline, we budget just shy of 600,000. And then the other stuff there with tires, chains, and blades, those are things that we kind of track and kind of monitor as we need, but those numbers stay pretty constant. Snow and ice control. This is the one that we get judged on by the most, I think, from the public's perspective, but it's a relatively small portion of our budget. And I just made a note there, let me make sure I get to that. I think, yeah, currently we're at 22%. So we had a December started out there, you're like, oh no. And right now, knock on some wood, we are sitting okay. And the one item that we haven't replaced yet is the salt. So part of that snow budget will be used on salt to replace. Right now, our salt shed that you guys funded there a few years ago, we have a pretty good supply in it. So we're gonna try to take that down to get some of that older salt out. But then at the end of the year, we'll bring the whole budget of salt that we budgeted for to fill that back up to replenish it. So again, trying to stay ahead of it. So currently typically we've been getting around 800 tons to 1,000 tons that we have in storage. And prior to that shed, we would have 200 to 250 tons of storage. So we could go through that really quick in a snowstorm if it came. Now, and the nice thing is we've got some supply there that allows us to handle a bad period of snow or maybe a bad winter. We don't have that extra salt expense. It may borrow into the next year, but we don't have that issue of getting where we had to try to buy. That one year, I think it's been 2016 or something like that. The salt that we had to buy because we ran out of our contract amount was like almost double what our contract amount was for that material. So we are in a good position now to cover ourselves. And then we have bridge and culvert maintenance. We're sitting at 270,000. That one fluctuates a little bit depending on what we're doing. Again, most of that is our guys going out and replacing culverts, crossroad pipes. So what I talked about last week, we had 2 that we did culverts. That's where this work is coming out of.
Where does, like when people get a culvert for their driveways and stuff like that, where does that come from?
Yeah, so that is actually coming out of equipment operations. We have inventory stuff that we keep in there. So when you buy, if you apply for a new entrance or for a new entrance is what I should say, or an extension, that's where that's coming. If it's a maintenance pipe where the culvert has failed and it's your entrance, we look at that, that's our decision, then that would come out of the roads on that side of it. So there's 2 ways that we look at that, but we do keep an inventory that way. And that is part of our revenue, is if somebody buys a pipe from us, that would be part of it. So yeah, good question. So now we're talking about construction, and I always put a thing here that says asterisk. These are under contract or will be prior to July 1st of 2026. I have 4 projects listed, so 4 big projects. And these will not be necessarily done before July. So a lot of our work this year is gonna be working on projects that are already obligated. And again, the first one is the bridge out here west of town. It's sitting at $3.8 million. They're starting to remove beams. They're still working on demolition. That project will go through the whole summer. And again, that's a project that's funded through a raise grant and part of our farm to market as far as leverage on that. So those dollars are not running through the road department, but they are out there of work that we're doing on inspection. And then you have Lexington. Lexington is a project that's running through our local side. That's we're gonna replace a bridge with a twin box culvert, and then that's sitting right at $330,000. And then the next one is a farm to market project that will be going on this summer, most likely, or early, late spring is what I would anticipate. And it's coming out of the farm to market account, sitting just a shy of $350,000. And then Winfield Avenue. This is one that this is a joint project between the county and the city. This is just out here north of town, going west of Grand Avenue to Iowa Avenue. And the city is taking care of that, but we have ownership or jurisdiction on a portion of that. So we are paying. We have an agreement that the city is taking care of that construction project. When it's let, we have dollars that are obligated for that project, and we're showing right now just under 700,000 for that piece. Again, that's supposed to be let this spring. Obviously, we don't, there may be some hiccups there, whether or not that goes. If it doesn't happen this spring, then it gets kicked to the next construction season, but they're pushing to get that done this summer. And then we have intersections. These are the dollars that we're spending on Highway 78, Highway 218, and 34. These are the gravel roads, our major gravel roads that are connecting to the state highways or the 4 lanes, to where we can have a better intersection there. So they're a 50-foot asphalt approach that we're putting out there. One of them on Highway 78 was they're called curves, they're the reverse curve, the S curves up there. And those are really hard to maintain, that edge along the pavement when they're long sections. So by doing that, it helps improve the safety of our blade operator not having to be out there exposed. On 218, it's really nice that our blade guy does not have to be trying to run parallel to 218 to put rock up against that. And it seems to be working pretty good for the public as well. So we have some dollars there that over the next 3 years, we have to keep paying those bills. So we were able to get them into, majority of them are in a 3-year repayment. There are some, if they're a smaller entity or a smaller amount, it might be a one-time event. So we utilize farm-to-market funds if it's a farm-to-market route, or if it's not, we use local dollars there, and that's where we just have to keep some money aside there to pay those out. Then we have our 2 projects that we're really pushing forward for this next fiscal year to get under contract. The first one's a bridge. It's the one on 200th Street there. It's 200th, and I think it turns to Graham. And that one there, we're trying to get that one. We'll probably be looking at a December letting if we can, of this year, and that sometimes that'll get pushed back if we run any hiccups with like right of way or some different planning issues that we have. But so far that's going in well. That'll be a slab bridge that we'll be replacing an old wood bridge, beam bridge, I guess is what it is, a wood plank bridge. And then the other one is Franklin Avenue. This would be from Oakland Mills up to Old Highway 34, so we'll actually go across 235th Street. There we would let this project this winter, again, or this coming winter, so in December timeframe, would be construction for 2027. After the time that our bridge on 235th Street is done, then this one would come in. It would be another overlay project. We have been working on trying to find some other dollars to help fund that one. We haven't been successful yet. We did receive $500,000 for safety improvement. That would be putting a 2-foot paved shoulder on and having rumble strips on those shoulders and at center line. So that would match up to what we did at the south end going to Salem. Yeah.
Would the dirt come out of the quarry again on that one?
This one really won't have much dirt at all on it because the section from Oakland Mills up to 235th has good shoulders on it. And then there's a little piece in between. We may end up trying to do some of that work in between, or that would be where it would come from. Yep.
How far is that, Jake, from where you're gonna start at the bridge and then go up to?
I think the whole thing is like 3 miles. So I think it's right at 3 miles for the whole project. Yep.
$1 million a mile. Okay.
Yeah, and and again, some of those are those shoulder improvements and stuff, and we try to be conservative when we're trying to figure those dollar amounts to make sure that if it, if we try to be real aggressive, like get the best price at, what we think the best price would be, then we might get sticker shock and be like, okay, now we can't fund the project. So this is what we think, hopefully it would be worst case scenario. We're looking at the different options. What kind of inflates that is there are a couple culverts that we would have to replace on that section that we have to look at. And so those definitely raise the price up quite a bit when you're looking at the projects and simplifying them. And then we always show a couple random ones. And then when I do the 5-year program, there's still some other dollars that we may allocate for. It doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to move forward with that for sure, but that's what we're looking at. So again, you're talking total construction costs that we're showing. These are projects that are already under contract, so it's almost like I showed them last year, but this is just shy of, just a little over $9 million worth of construction. And 4 of those projects are locked in as far as close to either under contract or like with the city project will be under contract before long. So there's quite a bit of work going on. Now you look at the balances. So we have two balances for construction dollars that we manage, and the first one is our bridge. That's the top one. Or do I start with the good or bad? So I'll start with good. Our bridge fund is sitting pretty good. So we're in the positive, and we have some projects that are coming down the pike that we're kind of making sure. We are allowed to borrow ahead, so basically that's interest free. So having a big balance isn't necessarily a good thing, I guess. But when you're looking at it, I would say we're mitigating our costs. You know, it's good to have a little bit in case a bridge or something would jump up that we weren't quite expecting. But right now, as we're showing this fiscal year or the next fiscal year, we'll be under just a little under $1 million in our balance. Again, we get that 600,000 or just shy of 600,000 that we're projecting. Lexington's under contract. We're gonna let the bridge on 200th Street. The following fiscal year, we've got 2 other bridges that we'll be looking at, and then the 5-year program will show that. That'll show that fund going down into the negative, which does allow us to utilize those dollars basically interest-free. That's the way we look at it. So on the farm to market, I've taken advantage of that. We are in the negative. We've done several large projects. So Franklin Avenue was a big one that put us down. We've got Winfield Avenue that's coming. And then for us to finish the rest of Franklin Avenue, you're gonna see that's there. We're dipping right into close to the max of what we can borrow ahead on that. So some of those things will get better as, you know, being conservative should be better what I'm showing right now. But again, we gotta let it build back up. So you might be saying, what are you gonna do after that? Well, we will have to let the farm to market account build up, but we will be on to do another Southeast Iowa Regional Planning or federal project. So one of the ones we are planning on is 170th Street. That will go through, but it won't use as much farm to market funds to do that one because those are using federal dollars. And then that's kind of the way that we do it. But we have been pretty heavy on trying to replace some pavements and bring those up. That puts a strain on our farm to market account. So at some point we do have to try to let that get back up again. Any questions on that graph?
So when you take a look at that, for example, in your 5-year plan, you have like J20 from 218 to Salem listed in there as well. That's like 3 miles. How will that impact you when you're borrowing ahead?
Okay, and good question. So when I get into that, I'll explain that a little better.
Okay.
That's listed as an illustrative project, which
Okay.
means basically we have a need, but we don't have funding for it.
Okay.
So I really tried to lay that out. So if you look at that 5-year program, anything that says illustrative means
Okay.
we have a need, we don't have money for it.
Okay.
But yes, that's the trouble. So if we're looking at the program where we're going next, is you have the New London Road and you have Racine are the next 2 that we're really looking at as far as getting the funding locked down. 170th is locked down because we have that federal aid project.
Yeah.
But
Is
yeah,
that the
that's
RISE
a
grant?
What?
Is it a RISE grant or? is that something
No,
different?
that's just using our federal aid dollars. It's STBG dollars that we use.
Okay.
Okay. Here's talking about the schedule. You got this in your packet. I don't want to go into it, but again, it's talking about the projects under construction, and most of them are summer. I'll give you a little prelude. We are actually Fremont. That got changed already. I'll be bringing that up next Thursday, but they're planning on actually getting started next week if it works. So they're looking at the schedule. They can get the bridge out, and then the temperature is supposed to hopefully warm up after next week. So they actually want to try to get that one going. So we're calling and sending letters out, and then on Thursday I'll do a more formal update on that. I think actually tomorrow we're planning to put the press release out tomorrow on that project. So okay. Then we get down to the brass tacks. What does it all look like? How does it come out? And our re-estimated, we're showing just a little under 7 million. And again, that's just basically saying these are some areas that I don't think I'll spend. There might be some areas that we went over. When we look at the county budget and the state budget, there's a couple criteria. So for county budget, the 7,000 numbers, all of them, is one aspect of the county budget. And then we have our capital projects or the construction projects, which is the other. So if I go over on all the 7,000s, if I'm over the total dollar amount, then I'd have to amend with you guys. Same with construction. If I would amend or go over that on construction, I would have to amend. On the state level, it's broken into each category. So the 7,000, if I go over 10%, I'd have to amend the state budget. In the 7,100s, I'd do the same thing. And then you have the 7,200s that we do. So there's 4 categories on the state budget that we can't overall, can't spend overall anything. So those are things that we get asked, like, do we need to amend? Typically, if we have to do anything, it's usually because it's the state side of it that we have to, and that's moving dollars around. And I'll give you one example on real estate buildings. I'm actually spending more than what I originally had budgeted, but it's under that column for equipment operation tools. That's the fuel system. So that's replacement of the fuel system that we put in. Again, that's overall with that budget item, we are covered because it's coming out of equipment operation as well. So just to give you that little sense. So for this fiscal year, we're sitting at just a little over $8 million. Again, 700,000 of that $8 million is pass-through dollars. And then you have that 500 and just shy of 600,000 coming from ITC that we're using for rock crushing. So this is showing a big year for us. A typical year is we're between $6 and $7 million, but when we do a crushing year, you gotta add about $1 million to us to crush at the quarry. Questions on that?
And that crushing will be for a 2-year or 3-year period?
That's a 2-year supply. So we have a 2-year, we crushed last year.
Right, that's what I was.
And that gives us 2. Technically, this would not be the year that we normally would crush, but because ITC's coming in, we're gonna crush another 2-year supply, so that gives them the 3 years out that we have to wait before we have to crush again.
Okay.
Good question. The only thing that you really need to worry about with this graph is this here is the estimated ending balance of fiscal year 27, so next June. Right now I'm showing just under $1 million. We typically, just as a reminder, we get our property tax dollars usually at the end of the fiscal year. So, and that dollar amount's around 1.6 million. So I'm actually showing us borrowing into the next year, if that makes sense. And that's something that I keep track of. So, you know, my goal is I want to have a ending balance somewhere around $2 million. And think about in these terms, we're right in the middle of the summer construction. I've got to have enough to pay for any construction that would be going on during the summer. So we do have a balance that carries over. And those dollars are always protected because of the road use tax dollars. Those, we have to use them on roads. So that's where it's a matter of us balancing it. So I might make a plan. This is the things I want to spend on for goods, but if we have something that pops up, we have to make some adjustments to make sure that fits for that year. So, you know, I show that number. If we did everything exactly the way we had to do it, that's where we'd be at. But in reality, we'll make some adjustments as we go. We don't want to be that low. Any other questions on that? Okay. My last thing here was questions. This is a bridge on 162nd Street. It's over by Trenton. It was one that the guys went in there. We restabilized or encased the wood piling that were giving us some concerns from our consultant. And we went in and actually put some riprap in there, some broken concrete to protect those. And I think this is just kind of a good example of the guys were able to do these repairs of this maintenance on this bridge, and we were able to remove a posting on the bridge. So that bridge was posted at 20 tons. Once I got this work done, we were able to remove the posting for that bridge. So I think that's kudos to my guys. We used a concrete pump on this to get that concrete in there safely. And then the guys did this over about a week. We were able to get in there and do all that work. So it worked out well. So the other part of this is we have the 500,000 for loss that we utilize for rock crushing, and then you guys have always around 75,000 of it used for rural services. So that'd be like our brush clearing, our mowing, spraying, different things like that to kind of offset some of those costs. So we would continue to ask, and that's actually paid through, I say the auditor, but it comes through you. It doesn't actually come through the road department, so it's not shown as an actual expense on our end.
So that actually comes from local option sales tax for that
Correct,
community
yeah.
betterment?
Yeah,
Okay.
so we submit a bill for I'd say auditor, but the audit, Robin pays the bill,
Right.
but it's coming out of that loss fund.
So
Whereas the 500 actually gets transferred into the road department, and that comes through us.
Okay, so like what we see today on J20 where you're working down, like towards the Pickle Church in that area, that's coming out of that area, all that roadway, right-of-way stuff that you're clearing out?
It could. We could build back labor. We typically don't. So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
Chemicals that we buy for
Yep.
spraying roadsides.
Okay.
It's
We-
typically an operation. When we do seeding operations, when we're out seeding or putting erosion control down, we would utilize those dollars. So we really try to do materials or equipment. And actually one that will come through is we're replacing our disc mower that we have that we use to mow pavements, and that will come through. We just order that, and we would come out of loss, or that 75,000. So Tracy keeps a spreadsheet as we progress through that to make sure that, and we, like I said, we try to buy goods with that versus labor. The labor we keep on our side.
Okay. That helps, thank you.
Okay. Then any other questions that you guys got? Budget? That's pretty much it. I always give you guys a little update on my family, so if you want that still. So there's my family. It's growing. There's 2 of them that are now taller than me. Doesn't take much, I get that, but and then my daughter. So Ethan's my oldest, Zach is my middle son, and Logan's my youngest son, and then Vivian, who's just a little behind everybody else right now, and then my wife Rebecca. And then I got some pictures here of, just their activities. And this, the one up in the upper left, if you know I'm a real Iowa State fan, I have been on an Iowa baseball field and I did not melt. So
It had to hurt them.
It did a little bit, yeah. So, but it was a fun experience with Logan to do. So they're all having activities and different things like that. So, and my last one is just, and Zach just started driving with his school permit. They like to give me a hard time on when I park. This one he did, so you can see he clearly missed the in-between line. So a little plug on him. That's it. Thank you guys.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman, can we take a 5-minute break, please?
Yes.
Recess?
5-minute recess.
The supervisors are taking a break, and we'll take a quick break too and have this obscene profit center break, and then we'll be back with more podcast excellence.
Pfeiffer Sawmill, your local home for kiln-dried lumber and affordable trailer decking to your specifications, all in Rome, Iowa, serving Mount Pleasant and all surrounding areas. Do you like to throw a hatchet? They've got your board. Call Ben today at 319-931-4544. Did you know that I'm not only one of your favorite podcasters or even your favorite podcaster, but that I'm an author too? That's right. I'm the author of this book right here, Christy's Journey, The Beat Goes On. This is a true story about my daughter and my family. Back in June of 2019, my daughter Christy, at 29 years old, experienced cardiac arrest while at work at her job in Northeast Texas. The Lord lined up angels to save her, from her fellow employees to first responders to the doctors that figured out what was wrong. It was quite a journey. It turns out that Christy was born with a birth defect in her heart, something her mother and I never knew. Her pulmonary artery was on the wrong side of her heart. Christy was saved, and our entire family is eternally grateful and thankful. I would tell our story to different people, and I would say, the Lord has a plan for us, but I'm not smart enough to know what that is. So many times people would respond to me that I should write a book. Well, I'll tell you, it was the best thing that I could have done, and I hope you are interested in checking it out. If so, it's in lots of libraries in Iowa and in Texas. If you would like to have your own copy of our inspirational experience, you can get it online wherever books are sold, or go to BoBainDesigns.com and get it for $13.57, which is over $3 off the retail price.
Okay, yep, you guys are receiving, this is just the auditor and all the other budgets that she has to put together before she gets to the audit. So what this is that this is a non-departmental. This is Department 00. That's what you have up on your screen,
Right.
up there on your pie chart. So $11,000 goes to operating funds, and this is what's transferred to the historic preservation, is that $11,000. Doesn't say it, but that's what that is.
Can you fix your screen?
Yeah.
What did you?
The news was off. Thank you.
So that's at the very top, that's your key point that you talked about earlier.
Mhm.
So then you have your rural services, the basic fund right there. This is what is transferred to Jake for the secondary roads department, the operating and transfer funds.
The $1,619,000.
Yes. That's a 2.6% increase.
That's due to the additional income through supplemental.
Yeah, so we get it's 3.00375 of whatever the rural basic, so I think you guys levy 395.
Yeah.
And then the road department will get 3.00375, something like that.
Yeah, 759 or something like that, yeah. And this is the numbers that I give Jake, which is, he reminded me today.
Keep track.
So then the Community Betterment Fund, right there is also Jake's. This also goes to the transfer to his funds. for the
that goes-
500,000 that he discussed with you guys up
Right.
here.
So that goes back to secondary roads as well.
Mhm.
Is that through, local option sales tax, that one?
Mhm.
Computer betterment?
Mhm.
Okay, so lost dollars.
So that's it for that budget, that's on your department 00.
00.
All broke out, that tells you exactly what it is. Okay,
That's a lot of money.
Mhm.
$2 million.
okay.
That's why we do not want the state to handle that money.
No, I understand that, but it's also nice to see it broken out so that we
Yeah,
all
but I mean,
understand how it's,
no, the state wants,
to give us their money.
they want
To
them to
manage
then
that.
divvy it back up.
Yeah, that works really well usually.
Just pass it down. Take me pass it down. This is your department 99, the non-department, which is also up there on your screen that you questioned about. Now
Yep.
this is broke down.
Cause it's like
It's
3
all
million.
calculated together. It's just a lot harder to break it out when you run that pie chart. And again, it tells you exactly what it's used for in each line item. So, the very,
So that's truly the budget that Walt Jackson uses, right? The $190,000?
That's what we give him,
that's what you guys give them.
or that's what they're being.
It's usually,
Tax.
yeah, that's what yeah. It's usually given to them at the end of the year. End of the fiscal year.
It's like a 16% increase.
And then the other one, the next one, it says emergency management total is that 190, but then your next one, the general basic fund, you have your social services, contribution from other governments, which is your regional transit authority. Is that your C-bus? I'm believing. And so I didn't know if they were raising rates or anything, cause I haven't heard from you guys.
There's no rate increase unless it happens this coming week. I have a
Okay.
meeting on Thursday.
Okay, so what I did is that I only just added 250 to that, because it looks like we already paid 18,492, so I only gave it a 1.4 increase, just in case. I don't know.
Okay, I'll find
I
out.
don't go to your guys' boards, so I don't know.
I'll find out.
Okay. And then the next one is $10,000. This, and then for the social services, we already used $10,000. I think this has something to do with, and see, that's where it's confusing. If I had my laptop, I could tell you where that's.
It's tourism.
Yeah, thank you.
What did you say?
Oh, it says it right there, Henry
Tourism.
County Tourism.
Yeah.
I left that alone because we did, if you look there, in the past 2 or 3 years, we did $10,000 all the way across.
Yeah,
It's never
for
gone
a
up.
very long time.
This is just extra support for the tourism.
Mark, are those the funds they used like when RIDE came through, for
Mhm.
example, and they did promotions and those types of things?
Yep.
Supporting that, okay.
Okay. So the next one is weed eradication. We haven't spent anything out of it, but I'm still gonna keep it there. It's $1,000. I don't know. It looks like in the past years, we never used anything either, but I think we started putting $1,000 in there just in case.
That might start going, he, last year wasn't real active doing that. There just wasn't a whole lot going on. This year he might be spraying a little bit more. That's a discussion to have on the 28th with the players involved there and insurance, things like that, so. I don't see.
Which
if
Ely
he
is that?
didn't-
Is that?
That might be.
Mike?
I don't, and he didn't see that going crazy wild either.
Well, I
mean,
haven't seen anything turned in by him, so I was just
Right,
wondering.
so.
Okay. Okay, now we're down to the next one, which is Russ. I just kept it at 10,000, looks like we've already used 9,500.
That's our annual fee to be a member of Russ, yeah.
So I left it at, I'm leaving it at 10,000.
That's not changing.
And then, the next one, it's all God's creatures. This is where our pound is at. You guys have already used $11,060 this year.
Have we had a conversation with those folks yet on the time length and the?
Now, the last, it's, you guys all signed a contract.
We
It's
did,
1
but,
year.
yeah, we did, but there was an open end for some reason on that. On the time length that animals are there.
So it'll be the, second February, I believe.
But the last bill that we received and we paid was a little over $400 the last time.
That, yeah, that just seems like it's higher than what it really should be.
It is.
We
We
need
used to pay $550 a month.
The thing
Not
we need to
12 or
find out is
2,000.
our requirements as far as, with them.
Impound.
If it's only thing that the sheriff or the city police are involved in, that's our responsibility, nothing else.
Well, the city police, that's their responsibility there. I think they've contributed,
So they're given to.
I think they've contracted with, the same entity as well.
So only thing we had was what the county
Yeah.
sheriff department takes.
Yeah, there should be rural areas of the county that are, strays that come in and, the general idea was we won't pay for neuterization, we won't pay for, the doctoring and things like that. It's for the impound immediate, make them well. I mean, if they're sick, you gotta make them well type thing to keep them there. But no neuterization, no adoption fees, nothing like that, so.
When is that contract up?
I have to look at it, I don't have a laptop.
I don't know the date of it.
If you can let us know that, please.
Last spring.
It's upstairs in the file. It's $140 per animal.
The idea was to keep them, it was either 5 or 7 days, and then they are not a euthanization. They don't want to euthanize anything, but it might come into that. I mean, unless they are willing to take that on to another.
It's $140 an animal with 19,000, that's a pretty significant number of critters.
Yeah.
Mom cat can have up to how many kittens?
A lot.
So I increased that to $27,000. I mean, I increased it $27,000, but I increased it 19,000.
It's 137 animals. That's crazy ridiculous. We need to review that.
Okay. Okay. Next page, page 2. You have your Southeast Iowa Regional Planning, it's 25.5, left it the same, because that's what we paid. We paid 21,820, but I left it at 25.5 is what I had it for last year that you guys agreed upon. In case it increases.
I don't think we'll know that until this coming Thursday.
So I
Give me
just
an
left it,
update.
$5,000 for, the 4-H club, which is, they are coming in, next week, next Tuesday, the 27th, on your guys' meeting.
Right.
You're asking for 5,000, and I believe the fair gets,
Okay. And this all falls under Department 99.
yes. Township officials for the care of graves, that's like all the veterans' graves that we do pay them a fee one time in the fiscal year. They come in, they update your list.
We get about $350 a grave,
It's
Not very much.
something, and it's only once a year
Mhm.
that we pay them in a fiscal year.
But what's it do? What?
They go out and they double check these graves
The
for the
headstones
veterans
themselves?
lists.
Yeah.
And then come in and update the veterans list for these graves.
Okay.
If a cemetery has a veteran, we pay like $350 a grave.
Okay. We pay the Pioneer Townships, right?
This is not
That's what we're talking-
Pioneer,
Or
this
just the
is-
township
It's
itself?
the-
This could be anybody.
Yeah.
Really?
It could be a private cemetery.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we keep those lists updated upstairs in our drawer by grave.
And that money then goes to upkeep of the cemetery?
Yes. So, I just left it the same, 600, or 6,600.
So, on all that, all cemeteries then will submit whatever they have.
They come in and they update the list with us, and then we pay them from there. Next one, you have the state auditor's audit. We paid them $63,626 for the entire audit for the county. Did to 75, or 5,000 for some.
I'm sure we don't have a whole lot to say about that, but they provide us with a report then?
Yeah, and we can call on them for support throughout the year,
Okay.
which is very handy, so we can stay compliant for what we're supposed to do with our accounts.
And we do that through ISAC as well, right?
And I do it
For
for the
support.
state auditor.
This could be done through a private accounting agency as well, couldn't it be?
It could, but I'd rather stick with the state auditor when the state auditor is really truly compliant with
Has
the
the
state laws and what we're
compliancy,
supposed to stay with.
I'm not even suggesting changing it, but that's an option, but
It wasn't TD&T, but the last one we had private, we had to point out things and then to audit, and then they wouldn't even audit.
Yeah,
When does that usually happen?
they start asking for stuff before the end of the
We're
fiscal
already
year. I
working
mean,
on our
they always
reports,
ask for
yeah.
reports from us, we hand over reports, if they're not exactly here,
Mhm.
they have those reports. If they come and wanna do a hands-on audit,
Depends on how far behind they are.
yeah, but they're not, they're already working on 2025, so they're
They're ahead of
So you're
you.
Get
doing
on.
it now. Okay.
Okay, so dues and memberships. We kept it the same. Looks like we only used 6,300, I just kept it the same as it has been, just in case. Cause one year we did use that amount of $8,050 for our membership dues.
For ISAC?
That's what it says, ISAP dues.
Yeah.
and that gets us the resources that ISAC provides.
And the next one is, 4,500, we haven't spent nothing there, but I don't,
We will, I mean, that's a cost. This is we'll get a revenue of like close to 20,000, this is what we get back from them. This is when they do the cost allocation.
oh, yeah, is that
And they,
Kate and Cassie?
Cassie.
Cassie.
Yeah.
Cost
Or-
Cost
Cost, so-
analysis,
I mean, we'll get $20,000 back from them to get,
to report to them,
To
and
get-
then they give us a report.
From who?
they'll find us $20,000 and it costs us $4,500 to get that far, so it's
Cost
to our
analysis.
benefit.
But who is this?
We'll get a revenue from.
So who does Cassie work for?
Cassie,
It's Cassie,
that's the company.
Oh.
it's upstairs in our
That's
drawer.
the name
They
of
give
the
us a
company.
report annually.
Yeah.
For example, they'll find out how much, HHS, we spend for them on HHS, and they'll do that reporting for us.
Okay.
It's money well spent, Steve.
Okay. Taking notes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's the safety and protective supplies. Don't know what to do with that because we don't have really anybody for safety.
Well, we're talking through that. I think we'll know more here in the next couple of weeks. The safety team has been working together with Paul to get this all figured out.
I'm gonna leave it at 15,000, because if you look at back in the past years, it looks like we used 17,504 and 15,826, and right now we've only used $4,439.
Jake, how much your gentleman that can spend over a 2-year period?
1 year period, it's $300.
$300, so.
Yep, and we go
And it's a
off-
fiscal year,
It's a
right?
fiscal year, yeah, so. and
That's
So
then-
we're
What's on
looking
that
at
budget?
$6,000, $7,000 right there for you guys.
Yeah, and not, I would say they don't use it,
All-
guys aren't using all that dollar amount, they're using what they
You
get.
have to be ready to.
Correct, I think we've always budgeted, at least on our end. I think there's other avenues that you can use those dollars for, like if you, used to be if you had a request, like something that was safety driven, you would make that request, and if there was money allocated or left, you would use those dollars.
Do we also buy your other safety equipment, like your chaps and things out of that too? I think-
We have at times, I think conservation has used that before, I think going forward, I don't know exactly everything that's in there, but yeah, there was options, you could make requests, like ICAP would be that $1,000, that's what we'd use that for.
Right. Do we use anything for public health from a safety aspect of this?
I did not know that that was available.
No, she
Most of
didn't.
my safety items I put through our public health emergency preparedness, which is a pass-through grant, so,
And it covers everything,
no.
okay, so now you know, right?
It covers our PPE, so there's like a
That's what I was
stockpile
thinking.
countywide where we can get gloves, gowns, masks. It doesn't cover like alcohol wipes or anything that we would need to use in clinic, but
But this could,
this could, yes.
okay.
Is that we, send me cost on
Sure.
some of that stuff and I can try to,
The only thing that we utilized it for in the past was last year is we have, it's called VGM or CE Solutions. We use it for our safety training. It's like we have to do bloodborne pathogens, just education on preventing needle injuries to be in compliance with OSHA. So that's the only thing we've used it for.
Opportunities.
and then we have right there, it shows for medical exam fees and autopsies. And I'm not understanding why it has new hires in that, but it's $7,000. We've already used 2006.
The new hire was in case they had to go to training in the
Is
schools.
that what it is? And that's for the medical examiners? is that
Specifically
right?
for medical examiners, okay.
Okay, and yeah, medical examiners. It's just not put in there well, I guess. Cause they've always sent it to us and we've always paid it out mostly through the medical examiner
They've always-
department, which
yeah,
is I
they've
have
always-
here.
They've always have to ask for approval before we do it.
Oh, I see it. Yeah, okay. Next one is lab services, medical exam. Again, you have another one for autopsies. 250, or, excuse me, 2,050.
I think that is
That's
in
for
case
the
the
county.
autopsy has to have some special things done with it.
Usually that's state, I take the state on that stuff. State autopsies. And your next one's the tort liability and stuff right there. You see on there, I have marked no, because all insurances get paid out of the supplemental. It does not get paid out of the general.
We've moved
And
it.
if we're supposed to cut our levy down by a certain time, because it's state law, I turned it around and put it all back into the supplemental instead of the general. Cause it was there the last year of the last auditor. Then you go down to, again, your public officials, this is all your insurance. But this does come out of the general. The fidelity, $5,000 for elected officials.
This is just for
Sure.
the bond.
It's for the bonds.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's taken out there. Next thing. This is your utilities. It has each address there, so I look over and I see what it is. I didn't increase anything, I kept it the same as well. Cause you can see what's already been used year to date. And this was printed out in December. Just to double check, get a closer view of it. Cause you have 6 more months with this. These are all your utilities, it has all your everything here. The extermination fees, I did take it off. because it is Tyler that will go and do those things.
On the, Tyler, the chemical applicator fees, I think that would be paid by the county as well, just like
Yeah.
the nurses' certificates.
He has his
and-
own budget too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so the county still pays in his budget. Go down a little bit further, now you're going into the general supplemental fund in Department 99. It explains to you that first one, that's the employer group health, that's your retirees. I raised that to 5,850 with a 3% increase. Still don't know what that amount's gonna be possibly, but you know, you have some people dropping off this because it's either up to the age of 65 or 3 years, whichever comes first, is what you guys offered on that retirement.
How many people are coming off, you know?
I'll have to go upstairs and take a look. I know we just took 2 off. You still have some that are grandfathered in that they are paying their premium until they're at that age. Okay, now when you go down to the next line, this is where I put back in the tort liability. Again, this comes out of the general supplemental. I added $2,000. We don't know what's gonna happen this year. So it's $196,000 for a tort liability for the county. This with Adam Kearns. With the hub. Real estate property, I raised that to $5,000, the $275,000. The auto and physical damage, I only raised that to $892. It doesn't look like you paid anything yet for that. There is a bill upstairs though, that I just received and I broke it down to the manager to pay. That's sitting at $93,000.
Does this include the sheriff?
Yes,
That's everything, right?
this is everything.
Everything.
Yeah, workman's comp, raised it to $500 just to make it even, 63,000. We have we used 23,660 so far, since December.
Is there anything pending on that?
What do you mean pending?
I just didn't know if we had anything that was outlined or if there's anything that's potentially coming through.
So the next one is, this is for your officers again. We already spent $100 out of that line, because we've done it in the past. So I only put $200 on it. That's it for that one. And then now you go down to the Pioneer Cemetery. Everything stayed the same so far because we have not ever, in the past, if you look at the past, we have not ever spent over that amount. So I kept everything the same as well on that one. Township trustees, officials, and what they do, I have like their fence disputes, their sign maintenance, their labor. I kept everything the same. Gravestone replacement, some of those townships do take care of the cemeteries. I left that alone. We did have a couple of people that take care of those township cemeteries, that they have no money to help keep the tombstones up. So then they came back and they asked us what to do. So then I reached out to the township trustees and they would have to sign over the deed on who, if it's personally owned.
For private.
We've been seeing a lot of that this year, so I kept it at $4,500. We've not ever had to use that in the past neither, as much. Kept everything else the same there. And then your preservation fund, your historic preservation fund, I kept everything the same as well. Not much has been used from the historic preservation whatsoever. Your rural basic, fund is for township officials and their wages. We've never gone over the $2,124. We haven't used much at all, really, so I put $4,000 in it. Left it there from last year. The opioid, I wrote some numbers in there. I do not take care of that budget. That would be Jesse Bell that takes care of that budget. You guys may wanna reach out to him. Normally he just turns it in or asks questions. But it shows right there, the reason why I also just put the numbers in and left the numbers there. You can see what was spent from year to date from this fiscal year. Like 90,000 or 3% of it, or I'm sorry, 90% or 3% was already used. 30%.
3%,
This is 30% right there. I had a line through it, that's why I said 90%. By accident. It's 30% that are used in the treatment and impersonating. Impersonated. I don't know, you guys have to ask me, that's his budget.
Yeah, we did that in the summary. Concerning amount of money that's in there. Yeah.
Well, yeah, he doesn't use very much at all.
Yeah, I know, that's why I said considering what's
So if
in
he
there.
can obligate
Yeah.
that to, so that's what I don't understand
We
is why
haven't met
is your
since
budget in
August.
that when he could take care of that in his budget? But you said it has to be.
It has to be opioid specific and there's specific initiatives that have to be followed too, so it's, you're kind of limited in what you can use it for.
Okay.
Look, I think that's what you're ready for.
Yeah, okay. It's still
It's the bottom
opioid.
of opioid.
Yep, but then you come down to the
Improvements.
capital improvements, I still kept it at $250
50,000.
or 50,000, just like we had last year.
And that's just a service, but debt, right?
And it says just for capital projects, miscellaneous debt service funds for the secondary roads department. I left that at 250,000, but I haven't gotten anything
What
for
was
the
it?
capital projects.
No.
Say it one more time.
Capital projects, that's what it says, for 250,000 right there. Improvement projects.
So I think that's where that million,
Is that what,
I think the capital improvement projects.
It's part of our debt service.
yeah,
This is our debt service.
Oh, debt service,
Yeah.
oh,
So this would be for the sand shed or whatever you
yeah,
call it.
what we have left, I mean, there should be a decreasing dollar amount, because
Yeah,
Okay.
we're making payments on it.
okay,
So that should be.
I'm gonna highlight that.
What did it start at, ballpark wise, do you know?
That was before I took
No, it's, I think it was 600,000, and then it was we got like 594,000. I thought you had it all paid off, I don't know if that's, I might.
That's not, it's not debt service, or it'd be underneath, 40,000, this is 30,000, this is just capital projects, miscellaneous debt service funds, or debt service, just secondary roads. This is not that is paid off, this is not debt service, it is capital improvements from
It's
the
still-
county.
True, but it still says debt services, so.
We have to have it in there to complete it all.
I'll show it to you when we get further.
Okay.
It's in 40,000, this is 30,000. And if I
You're
had my
talking
laptop, I
about-
could tell you exactly what it pays for.
What's the dollar amount you have here, is $250,000?
Yeah.
What? I
It's
don't
never
think I.
been,
It's a Department 99 and it's code 10,000, 1020, 10220.
I'll show you what I'm talking about when we get further. So
Did we
then
actually
there's,
spend out of that last year then?
it's in 40,000. It's in fund 40,000, this is 30,000. This is not it.
Okay,
I'll show you what I'm
Not
talking
dollar,
about,
but fund.
one.
but we don't know what that dollar is for right now.
because I don't have a laptop to look it up.
Yeah.
Okay, next. So now it's conservation and clothing, you're on page 11.
No, we didn't finish community betterment at the
Oh,
bottom.
sorry, community betterment. So then you go to community betterment, it's $185,000 I put down. We've only spent $13,205. We only spent 7% of that so far.
Do we know what all goes into that? You and I were talking about that the other day, Mark.
I have to relook that one up.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot that goes into that one.
I got the sheets at home I'm working
Because
on.
we just talked about a little bit of that going to secondary roads too, so community betterment funds.
Yeah, the loss would be transferred into the road department, so I don't think it would show up on that item as much. But
Okay. But yeah, if we could get some definition and understand what that is.
Next, sanitation and disposal services, I raised that to $400,000.
That might be a little high.
I don't know.
We're gonna have a modest increase at Great River, but it's like $1 a ton, so it's not.
I feel like we haven't even spent much this year on it, so I don't even know. Cause if you look in the past years,
We're at 345.
yeah, 345 was the past year, and then we dropped it to 325 last year. But we've only used $132,641 at a 41% for a half a year. So I'll have to go back and take a look and make sure that, they pay those bills. I wonder if I don't know. I don't know how they work. And then your landfill, I just left it at 28,000.
That's what we're keeping to that.
At the 28,000? Okay, perfect.
That one will never go away.
No, So on, page 11, it's your solid waste and disposal. But it says conservation clothing, oh, that was what we just talked about, but then it says your conservation and clothing allowance for the community betterment fund, and 31,000 is your fund for $2,000. I left it the same, because nothing looks like it's been pulled out.
Maybe they don't.
But it's still a balance, you know?
It doesn't look like they spent anything, ever.
So I left it there, there's a reason why we put it there. I don't know why.
Check with Caleb, he's tomorrow, right?
Yeah, tomorrow. He rescheduled yesterday about 1 o'clock-ish with him.
We can check with him and see
Mm-hmm.
if, why, or just get rid of it.
Yeah, Trenton Park, maintenance, and they always ask for money to help upkeep that park up there. And we've given it to them before,
But why are we increasing?
because I don't know.
I wouldn't.
You wanna leave it at 1,200? Okay.
Actually,
No,
their trustees could.
I
leverage
talked to
that.
her about it, and I think what she's doing is trying to work it more into their budget this year.
Okay.
And that's Terry Bain. She's a township clerk up there in Trenton Township.
The reason that even got started was that was under the conservation department at one time,
Okay.
and they dropped it.
Mhm.
They didn't have the money in their budget, the township at that time. That's what happened.
It was in the middle of it or something, wasn't it, like of a fiscal year?
Well, just
I don't
happened, well, they dropped.
But they always send a letter to ask. So,
Well, apparently it's working.
Yeah, for them.
Yeah, exactly.
so, the next one is your Main Street programs. These are the programs that get paid out for support. So 7,500, I'm gonna keep it the same because all the other years that we have had them, we've never gone up. So it's 7,500. They come here and ask for support. Also the fair and the 4-H. So the 4-H gets 5,000, the fair gets 15,000. So it's kind of all ran together. Yeah.
Well, it is, but yeah, they're separate line items, so it's pretty
Well-
defined.
It is, but when you write a check, you could pull it out of two different items, and that was even on your other one.
Because on your
It's-
annual financial report, those all fall under the same category,
Yeah.
which is totally.
So you said 4-H gets 5? and the
4-H
fair
gets
10?
5,000, the fair gets 15,000, and that's when Alicia Yoakum will come in and ask for support, which is she's on the schedule for Tuesday. To ask for that support.
4-H is tied to an extension, so is that mandated?
We're mandated to have a fair.
Or yeah.
General
true.
basic pays 5,000.
But the dollar amount that comes to, that we pay out to 4-H, is that mandated?
I don't know, I've been doing it
Alicia
since
on that.
I've worked here, so.
The
I don't
4-H?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, not the fair, but 4-H, okay. So I thought there was a formula, I have to look that up.
So if you look all the way down, it does have the safety, there's safety again. I can see how this is very confusing.
Secondary roads,
It says secondary roads.
$9,000.
Problem.
The rest of the fiscal year is not over yet.
You spent some.
We spent 9,000.
You've only spent, no, you only spent 1,906 this year, you only spent 21% so far. So you're doing good, I don't know why. I just kept it the same.
I have no idea where that, I mean, that,
I think this was when we had a safety director. This is what the safety director put in. I'm doing a budget for somebody else's budget, I don't know. We don't have a safety director.
We'll have, we'll get one, we'll get there.
And
But in the short term, I think we better understand what those are, so you know
well,
what
so
you're doing.
I will tell you right now, I don't know where your safety allowance is coming out of your budget. I assumed it was earlier when we talked about it, might be coming out of there, to be honest, because that sounds like more of our safety allowance, wouldn't you say at this point where
It's
we're
a
at?
safety allowance, because that's what Derek, you guys would send it to Derek, and Derek would approve it, and then he would send it to the claims.
What's the code that you have? Is there a?
Like when we bought you that hoist or something?
It does say secondary
There's
roads
other
at the
items
bottom.
Yeah,
that you
like
bought.
that,
This
yeah.
is nine-
The big ticket item.
9,000
The
is
bigger
that.
ticket items.
Okay, what's the code? So like when Amanda pays.
Oh,
out of
the
that,
code?
What's she paying out of right now for those safety allowances?
It's Fund 31,000, 09100, 293, Department 99, and it has a project code of 593. Okay? The next one is Old Thrashers. That's where Terry comes and he asks for support. I left the same amount of 20,000 that you guys,
You'll be here next
Tuesday,
Tuesday, is that right?
the
Chad?
27th.
Your mother died.
Yeah, just recently.
You know,
The next one is,
we've been asked for that, not the old thresher, but that Geo project down there too.
so the next one, Mount Pleasant Area Development, Economic Development, I believe is what it is, isn't it? Or is it just development? Is that the house? I thought we had economic earlier.
No, you pay it, no.
Yeah.
Their operating fee, right?
So it's 41,480 is what we've done in the past. I don't know, it was, I'd say we keep it at 42 to be honest with you. But I don't know what you guys wanna do on that. This is your guys' kind of budget really.
Chad, you're on that team, right?
Yeah, that capital project that they're working on,
Right.
I don't know if that will increase it or what we wanna do with that yet. I don't know if we need to allocate $3,000 more to it or not right now. That'll be a discussion.
Cause it looks like it's gone up.
You know,
Just a little
Rachel's
bit.
gonna be giving a presentation to us on the 27th. And I'm not sure what she has in mind there either.
Should know more
Yeah.
next Tuesday. Okay,
That's right.
made a note. Which one?
You guys were just talking about- I thought we just discussed it.
No, that was,
Tourism, maybe?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
thinking about?
tourism.
Okay. 60,000 for land improvements, that's economic development. Oh. I left it looks like we used it one other time a little bit, but I don't know. To look it up and see.
looks like needs some definite review.
And there hasn't been anything spent out
What
of
we
that.
can do is print some reports off to see what has been paid out on that for years. Then you guys will have a better idea on what things are used for.
I mean, it looks like back in 23, 24, $476 was utilized out of that. Nothing since then, right?
That looked like it.
Okay, so then you guys go down to debt service. This is the secondary roads debt service that we no longer have.
The first one isn't.
We paid it off last year. That's what this is. And then your next debt service is your jail.
Okay, I've already flipped over on it.
And
Are you at the top of the next page?
Yeah, it's all no on the other one because that 40,000, fund 40,000 was a debt service for secondary roads is building. It was paid off last year. The 31,000 is what I was talking about, is I think it's the county's capital improvement funds. The next one is pretty self-explanatory. It says 41,001, that is your debt service for law center, that's the jail. This is what we'll have to spend within the fiscal year, because that's what it's due.
at some point, that bond will allow additional payments to be made towards that principal too, won't it?
After 7 years.
After 7 years,
Mhm.
so.
After that, you have your Mount Union Sewer. This is revenue fund. This is 55,000.
Well, that's just a pass through.
Pass-through.
Yeah,
Russ,
it's a
yeah.
pass-through, yeah. But we used 27,218 of it. So I think what happens is that we'll end up getting,
We pay it twice a year.
yeah.
Right.
Makes sense, which is 55,000. Yep. That's it for your Department 99. Okay, and you guys have your budget done?
No, we're not due.
So I have went through to see what you guys have spent, so it's whether you guys wanna go through it or not
Chad has to leave in a few minutes, but that shouldn't take us too long.
on that, but then you have mine, so you guys can't leave. to-
Let's do yours then, and we'll hold on ours.
You
Unless you wanna do it tomorrow. I don't know if we can.
you guys have to be on the schedule too, because the auditor normally has done it in the past, so you guys never say anything, so.
No, I think I seen you note said something about doing it on the 20th, whatever the last date was.
There you go.
Cause I asked you about P and Z also. I sent you a note about when we could be on the schedule, cause you said something about being on the 27th, I think, or whatever. And I said, sure, we can do that, but what
That's
about
the
P and Z?
sheriff.
No,
Normally,
the sheriff changed, right?
the sheriff and the attorney is on the 27th after your board meeting.
Right, cause they changed.
Yeah, because the sheriff could not do it on that Friday, cause I called him and asked him, cause he was asking about that. So I called the attorney too, and he said that would work out fine. So in the auditors, I'm just gonna go through mine real quick. I went through it. The top line, my salary is divided out. I can pull from the general basic, half my salary, and I can pull the other half from the supplemental. I asked for 10%. So the first line is 44,334. And then the other one, I'm bumping Delia, my deputy, and Heidi in their wage to get them up there in their scale as well.
So they're out, you're telling us
Which
they're out of
is-
the pay band, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So what I did also is that 70% of Delia's salary could come out of general basic, and the other 30% could come out of supplemental, because we do elections out of the supplemental. I believe I'm the only office that can do that, so I can give back to the general basic to the county to help upkeep the other services that we offer to the county. So, and Heidi is my deputy. She's deputy for payroll, and she's also deputy for elections. 40% will come out of the general basic, and the other 60% will come out of the general supplemental as well. Leaving that balance right there with two salaries of $66,251. Also Mandra, my claims gal upstairs, my clerk, she's also a part of the elections as well. So I put 30% in the supplemental and 70% into the general basic. So what you see there is the general basic, the very first. Putting her salary at $35,000. For stationery, I just bumped that to $500 because there are things there that we are realizing what we can do in our office for county residents. Stationery and forms, 35. Publications, 600. I only raised that to 100 because things have gone up for publications. And that's when I do your budgets, the biannual reports from the treasurer. After you guys discuss them in December, I had to put that to the paper. That comes out of the auditor's budget. Postage, it's gone up tremendously. So I added an extra $400. Well, I put 8 there, that's just postage and mailing. So I dropped that, honestly, I dropped it, because it was 5,200. And if you look in the past, I only used 66. I think I'm gonna have to put that, to 5,000, because we do have an election also, and extra things going out for letters. Well, let's leave it 800, because I have 2 postage lines there. That's a minus. Budget notices, I raised that to 9,500 because it, again, postage went up, and that goes to Master's Touch, and that's when we have to send all the tax levies out for like the school, the county. That's our mail outs that we have to do to each entity in Henry County. It's mandated. That goes out March 5th. After the budget. Okay. Next one is employee mileage and meals. Now, my staff is all in. And we are gonna go to quite a few, updated education trainings. My office will be closed one day in April, because we're all going.
In Des Moines or?
Des Moines or Cedar Rapids.
Okay.
I believe this one's in Des Moines. telephone, I put 0, but I know that you guys are talking to, IT about public officials receiving their own phone.
Yes.
Yep.
So it's easier when you guys have FOIA requests to pull them up. And then also education and training services, again, that's for other things that we have in our office, like real estate and all that. So we're all new in my office. So I raised that to 1,500. Next page, data equipment. That's for the extras that we have to have in our office. I left that at $1,125. $500 left it same for, membership dues. And then for equipment, furniture, I just left it at $1,200. I mean, we just had it redone on our office at the beginning of last year, so we don't need nothing. Now you go down to your general supplemental, which is next, you have the salary, there's my other half of my salary. And then also, that's Delia's, the next line is for salaries and the clerks and everything. This is all 3 of my gals in my office. And I'm at $69,205. The FICA comes out to $7,472. IPERS is $9,220. And then you get into your primary and general election. I'm gonna just leave it at 15,000. Looks like the past years we haven't really used that much from it.
And just staying this for just a second with this one and the previous one off of the initial where you put your salary in there, you're basing this off of a 10% pay increase
For myself.
for yourself, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure I understand that.
Yep.
Robin, you dropped the, that last line item. I would leave it up to 17,000.
You wanna leave it at 17?
Because look, cause we're gonna have.
I know we have the
We're gonna
general.
have another general, and that was $2,000 more
Yeah,
than prior.
but then when I look at the rest, I'll just raise it. We'll just raise
I
it
mean-
instead of taking away from it. I'll just keep it at 17,000.
Because every other year, there's quite a
always-
variance there.
Yeah, but then if you look back, then you have your election supplies again, and I raised that to 1,500. And to me, these
Okay,
are
yeah.
still supplies too.
Okay, okay, that's your call now.
I'll just
But
leave it.
I'm looking at what we spent, so.
Nope, I gotcha. I know what you're saying, cause I see it in the past
supply-
too.
Okay, the supplies are on the next page.
Yeah,
Okay,
and then
right.
again, you have more of the publication, so I raised that to $1,000.
All right,
Because that's 6,000, and to me, that's still considered as a supply,
that's fair.
because we're mandated to do that. And then I left, the primary general, printing ballots. I left it at 7,000, because in the past years, it was like 4 or 2, but things have gone up considerably on the printing. So I don't know what it's gonna be, I mean, it's hard to tell.
This is. Okay, that's on-
And then the next one, I since it's postage for like, this is when ballots go out. I raised that like $2,000, because that's when ballots, and the primary is the biggest,
well,
and so is the general,
Primaries this year.
yeah. Just as long as my ending fund balance stays and it's not in a negative in that supplemental fund, I should be okay. Mileage, I put $600 down. We spent 300 the years before, or 500 years before. That's when the girls have to get in the car and try to go fix equipment if it breaks down. And that's Wayland or New London or wherever. Education and training on that stuff kept it at $400. For the elections for the, see, and then you have data processing and equipment. I'm gonna keep that at 18,000. If something goes down. We also have, election officials, those are your PEOs that work for us, either early voting and for absentees, or people that work into our polls as well.
What are we paying them an hour right now?
It's
12?
a couple of years we raised that, and then a couple of years, I think it was like maybe 3 years ago we raised that.
Community service,
Yeah, well, there's people that love working those things.
that's a long, hard day.
13 hours. Voting registration and services, and of that, for $500 for 3,000. And you go back into your city school supplies, I'm just gonna keep the balance there, like I said, because if I'm under or over or something happens to the equipment, I still have that general supplemental fund. I'm gonna keep my balances at the same throughout the rest of this. You have your city school specials, who knows, they could probably throw up a special, cause I know that there's one school or another city talking about throwing a special. You don't know that until it comes out.
And the county's recompensated for the
Yes.
school.
So this is where my
costs, right?
revenue sits. We don't make money in our office. We go back and we go back after the 100% of what we spent to get it back into the revenue. And I do mention to the people that decide that they wanna throw up a special election, just because, I always tell them this is your bill, this is not our bill. And things have raised considerably. So I mean, a lot of them are backing off and just waiting for the next election or trying to appoint somebody. Okay, and then at the end, since we do pay out the general, supplemental, this is our, the FICA and the IPERS, and then since there's an increase in wage, 11,561 for the FICA contribution for the wages, IPERS wages, 14,266, increase of only $164. Remember, I had Blair and he was up there in the himself. But I don't have him anymore, so. And then the employee, insurance, I raised it, $3,213. I'm only going off by hearsay, so it's not a definite until February.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you if I came up with that number, so that's just feedback, general feedback.
Yep. Just, to me, it's basically a rumor until the day of, until you go in. But overall, it's
4%.
the general supplemental is an increase of 7%
Overall.
overall. That's all I got.
Good timing.
Are you guys wanting to discuss yours or go over some on Friday? Because we had to move.
Are we meeting Friday then too?
I'm asking, cause that was only supposed to be for the sheriff and the attorney. But the sheriff couldn't do it, things came up, so he asked to be moved to Tuesday afternoon, which is I emailed you guys and told you about the sheriff and the attorney on those 2 days, they were the last two.
And I answered you on Sunday at.
Yep, you did, I'm just making sure these two are okay with that as well.
I'm okay with whatever
All right.
move you did, but I'm also all right with if we need to schedule something on the 23rd.
That's Friday, yeah.
Okay. And what do you guys wanna do, cause I need to know, cause I have to post.
I can do it in the morning, but I can't do it in the afternoon.
Okay, 11:30, I can do
I
it.
thought that's what you guys said around 10 o'clock on the Friday.
Well, I can do it early on Friday.
You can?
Mhm.
7:30?
Yeah.
I'm messing with
Yeah.
you.
Sooner the better.
Fine,
I'm messing with you. I'm in.
I'll get in.
I'm up.
7:30?
No,
I think probably oughta,
let's make it
Eight.
eight.
Guys.
One morning I get to sleep in, you're taking it away.
8 o'clock.
well, I'm
Okay.
not worried
Is
about
this a work
sleeping in,
session?
but
Is that what we're gonna call it?
Yeah,
So would this be
8 o'clock budget.
For fiscal year?
for us, but also how about P and Z? We didn't do that. Or how
I got P and Z in here.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I get it every year, and then I hand it out to you guys.
Okay, but when are we gonna talk about that?
We could do,
Can we
well,
do that on the same day?
so usually in the auditor's budget, I also discuss P and Z. I also discuss the veterans.
Courthouse.
I discuss the courthouse. I discuss, non-departmental.
Oh, we just did that.
well, we could do that then the 23rd that
So
day.
you guys don't wanna talk about today?
Chad has to leave here, so.
Oh,
Yeah, I would like to listen to that, but I have a 11:30 appointment across the street there too, so.
well, I also have human services. I also have, the county libraries funds here. Juvenile probation.
Mr. Vice Chairman, will you
County
handle
Farm.
duties from here?
I can, yes.
Thank you.
I think you should be here for the rest of it.
Do what?
Yeah, you should be here for the rest of it.
On Friday.
Oh, Friday, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Do you want me to list out the others on Friday on what the auditor talks about on Friday?
I think it'd be a good idea to go through them.
I mean,
Mhm.
okay,
So you've got supervisors, P and Z, vets, courthouse,
Veterans.
HHS, libraries, juvie.
veterans.
I'm sorry, I gotta step out, but
Are you
So
dismissing
the
it from
chair's
the chair?
adjourning?
Adjourning from the chair?
I've asked the vice chair to,
We
handle
can,
from
but
here on out.
do we have anything else to cover on yours? We'll cover everything else on Friday.
Yes,
From us.
etc. on Friday.
Anything else you wanna talk about? Okay, we'll adjourn from the chair. We'll be done.
Well, there you have it. Hey, please do me a favor and give this episode a like, follow, and subscribe. It's free. Thanks for watching, and thanks to my sponsors, Griner Auto Body, Car Doctor, McDonald Boneyard, Your Choice Family Restaurant, Girling Repair, B&B Propane, and the family of Jet Stops, CW Tree Trimming LLC, and Iowa Technology Systems. I would think that some of you watching will have a newfound appreciation for your county representatives after all of that. I'm your host, John Bain. Stay friendly, Southeast Iowa.